Hey guys, before we start, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment if you have any feedback. Let's go to the story. It's strange how one ordinary moment can flip your entire life upside down. 1 second you're planning summer weddings and weekend cookouts with people you'd take a bullet for, and the next, you're looking at them like strangers on a sinking ship. I was 25, living in Cedar Heights, Oregon, and I used to think I had the kind of family you brag about. My brother Joel was a year younger, my sister Kylie 2 years behind him, and our parents were the type who knew all your friends' birthdays and sent group texts just to ask what everyone was having for dinner. It wasn't perfect, but it felt real. We were rooted, same city, same college, Cascade State, same stubborn loyalty that came with holiday casseroles and backyard football. For years, I bought into it. Thought we were unshakable. Thought I had a forever kind of crew. And then I met Lauren. Sophomore year. She was sharp, warm, funny in that kind of quiet, deadly way. We started dating and never stopped. Moved in after graduation and made plans to get married the next summer, and I asked her to marry me under the stupid fairy lights I spent 2 hours stringing up in the rain. She said yes. And for a while, that felt like everything. But that illusion cracked wide open in April. I left work early, a random half-day from the office. I remember thinking maybe we'd go out for dinner, just the two of us, no wedding spreadsheets for once. I had flowers. I had this stupid grin on my face. I had no clue what was waiting behind our apartment door. I found Joel in our bed. With Lauren. No yelling. No theatrics. Just silence. I turned around and left like I'd walked into the wrong reality. Lauren moved out. Said she'd fallen in love with Joel slowly. As if that made it better. I blocked her. Blocked him. Erased our wedding board. Trashed everything. For a minute, it felt like my family was on my side. Joel got uninvited from everything. My mom cried with me. My dad said he was disgusted. Kylie dropped off soup like it could fix the crater. And then, out of nowhere, I got offered a new job. A promotion that required a move. Eagleton wasn't far, just a few hours east. But it felt like another planet. The kind of clean slate you don't just get handed twice. So I got it. Figured I'd tell everyone at Thanksgiving, do one last Christmas, and move in January. But Thanksgiving didn't go how I had planned. I pulled up to my parents' house, and the driveway was packed. I didn't even notice Joel's car. Just walked in like I always had. And there they were, Joel and Lauren, laughing with my aunt. Like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't lost everything while they played house. My stomach flipped. I couldn't move. My mom saw me and came over with this soft voice that made me want to scream. Told me to sit down. Said we all needed to talk. The whole family gathered. My sister sat beside Joel. My dad didn't even look mad. My mom went on about forgiveness. Unity. Second chances. Joel and Lauren tried to speak, but I stopped them cold. I looked Kylie dead in the eyes. You think this is okay? She nodded. Barely. But she nodded. I didn't wait for more. Didn't yell. Didn't cry. Just got up and walked out of my childhood home like it was a house I'd never seen before. Thanksgiving dinner? I had it at a gas station Wendy's off I-84. Somewhere between cold fries and numb silence, I decided I was done pretending any of them still felt like family. I didn't wait until January. That night, after choking down a microwave turkey sandwich at a roadside diner, I pulled over at a rest stop, stared at the steering wheel, and made a list in my head. Everything I had left to serve. By morning, it was done. My job transfer to Brookridge, Colorado, accelerated. I called my boss and told him I was ready immediately. He didn't even hesitate. Said the office out there was desperate for someone who could clean house. I told him I could be that guy. The lease I was eyeing? Signed before the weekend. The phone? That was trickier. I was still on my parents' plan. Ironic, considering how fast they turned my brother into some prodigal son and tossed me in the emotional recycling bin. So I drove to a phone store, forked over the cash, and walked out with a new number, a new provider, and no strings attached. Deleted everything else. Group chats. Photos. Socials. I scrubbed the digital version of me clean, like I'd never existed inside that family. On December 12th, I tossed what was left of my life into the back of my car and drove through sleet and radio static into a city I'd never lived in, surrounded by people who didn't know my name. Brookridge felt like freedom. Small enough to breathe. Big enough to vanish. I got a one-bedroom apartment above a bookstore and threw myself into work. Long hours, late nights, nothing but spreadsheets and emails, and the dull ache of a clean slate. I didn't trust peace, but I didn't fight it either. No one called. No one checked in. For a while, I thought maybe they'd all moved on. And then, of course, came the message. Instagram. New account. Blank profile picture. No bio. No mutuals. Just a single DM that hit me like a punch. I saw it coming too late. You moved without telling anyone? We miss you. Come home for Christmas. It was from my mother. I sat with it for maybe a minute. Maybe less. The kind of message that pretends to be love but reeks of entitlement. I didn't overthink it. You have one son now. I'm not part of this family. Blocked. Deleted. Lockdown re-engaged. I tightened every privacy setting I could find. Scrubbed every trace of myself from every platform. Changed usernames. Nuked mutuals. I wasn't just out, I was erased. And still, that wasn't enough. Something in me needed the final act. The symbolic one. The one that made it permanent. So, I started the paperwork to change my last name. It felt strange at first, like peeling off a birthmark, but then it started to feel like breathing without weight on my chest. Christmas came. I stayed in Brookridge. Ordered Thai food. Watched old black and white movies and didn't pick up my phone once. No ornaments. No calls. No guilt. For a while, it felt like I'd finally outrun the past. But just after New Year's, something slid back in under the door. Her name was Callie. The thing about betrayal is, once you've lived through it, your radar starts twitching when something feels off, even if you can't quite name it yet. Callie messaged me a week after New Year's. Said she just moved to Fairview, only 15 minutes from where I was in Brookridge, and needed help unloading a few things. She'd always been the pretty one in my sister's friend group. Smart, magnetic, the type of person who knew exactly how much charm to apply and when. And me? Despite everything, I still hadn't unlearned how to be a sucker. She played it casual. Said she didn't want anything heavy. Just a little help. Someone she trusted in a new city. I told myself not to overthink it. Told myself that people change. Told myself she had nothing to gain from me now. So I went. Pulled up in front of her new place early on a freezing Saturday. Still half asleep, still half suspicious. It looked normal. Moving boxes stacked by the door, someone's coffee cup on the steps, the sound of furniture being shuffled around inside. And then I saw my father. He was hauling a nightstand out of the U-Haul, the same impatient scowl on his face like the whole world owed him a shortcut. Then my brother appeared, pushing a mattress, sweating through his hoodie, pretending like we hadn't stood on opposite sides of a nuclear fallout zone. My stomach locked. I hadn't even gotten out of the car yet. But it was already too late. Callie popped out of the doorway like she was hosting a surprise party. Waved at me, a nervous smile on her face, and said something I couldn't hear. My mother came out behind her. My whole body froze. I hit reverse so fast the tires squealed, but I wasn't quick enough. They followed. My mom yelled my name like it was supposed to soften anything. My brother shouted apologies as if words could vacuum up the past. And my dad? He snapped. Caught up to me as I tried to walk away, grabbed my shoulder, and said, loud, sharp, furious, stop acting like a child. I didn't think. I turned and swung. My fist connected with his jaw before the rest of me caught up. He stumbled, cursed, hands flying to his face like I'd broken something sacred. For a moment, no one moved. Not even the neighbors were watching from their balconies, half-eaten bagels suspended midair. But I kept walking. Left them all there shocked, rattled, reaching. I didn't stop until I was back on the train, surrounded by strangers, the taste of adrenaline still thick in my mouth. And that's when I texted Callie. You knew. Don't pretend otherwise. That was cruel. Blocked her number before she could reply. 2 days passed. Then came the long message. She said she hadn't known how deep it all went. My sister begged her to do it. That she thought maybe there was still a way back for me, and she wanted to believe she could help. Said my punch had triggered a full meltdown. My dad stormed off. My brother cried in the driveway, and my mom started blaming everyone but herself. She ended the message by saying she still wanted to see me. Said she owed me dinner. Said she wasn't like the rest of them. And for reasons I still don't understand, maybe loneliness, maybe curiosity, I agreed. Things didn't fall apart all at once. That's what made it worse. Callie and I got along. That first dinner felt like a ceasefire, like I'd finally met someone who saw the wreckage without trying to decorate it. She didn't push. She let the silence happen when I needed it. Slowly, against better judgment, we started seeing each other. It wasn't fireworks. It was quiet. Familiar. I don't even remember when we started calling it dating. It just kind of unfolded. And for a while, it felt like I'd finally outrun the echo of everything I'd left behind. So when she asked if I'd come to spend Christmas with her family back in Bellwood, Idaho, I didn't say no. She swore they knew everything. Said they were neutral. Said there wouldn't be any surprises. And maybe I wanted to believe that. Maybe part of me was tired of being the guy who ran away from holidays. We arrived the day before Christmas Eve. Her parents were warm, maybe a little too eager, but not unkind. Her dad and I talked sports. Her mom asked about my job, my plans, and how I liked the city. Nobody mentioned Joel. Nobody brought up Lauren. For 48 hours, it felt safe. Then came dinner. Callie's mom started setting the table, then brought in 5 extra chairs. Some close friends are dropping by, she said. Her voice didn't even tremble. The doorbell rang, and I knew. Even before I turned my head, even before I heard my mother's voice in the entryway, I knew. My parents, my sister, Joel, and Lauren, all of them, walking in like they were guests in a sitcom reunion special. I didn't speak, didn't move, just stared at Callie like I didn't recognize her anymore. She leaned in and whispered, "Please don't leave." They sat down, smiling, like they were part of some intervention fantasy. My mother said I needed to let go of resentment. My father claimed my punishment had gone on long enough, that Joel had paid his price, that the family had forgiven him, and I should too. Joel sat there smug, hands entwined with Lauren's like they were the victims. And then Lauren spoke. "Wait, you changed your last name?" Silence fell over the table like a dropped glass. I turned to her. "Yeah, I did." She blinked. "But you loved your last name. You said it made you feel connected to that old baseball guy." I exhaled. "Manager." And if his family had treated him like this, he'd have changed it too. That was the last thing I said to any of them. I turned to Callie. "Find your way home. I'll pack my things later." Walked out without another word. Got in the rental and drove through the night back to Brookridge, stopping once for gas and twice to remind myself not to scream. Got home at 3 in the morning. No idea how she got back. Didn't care. When I got back to Brookridge, I sat on my apartment floor until the sun came up. The kind of tired that seeps into your bones, where even thinking feels like too much effort. Callie tried to come by 2 nights later. Knocked on the door like she hadn't detonated the last sliver of trust one had left in me. Said I was overreacting. That they just wanted to talk. That maybe I owed it to myself to listen. I didn't open the door. Just shoved a box of her things into her hands and locked it behind me. She yelled something down the hallway, but I'd already walked into the kitchen and turned the faucet on until I couldn't hear her anymore. And then, for a while, it was just quiet. I thought I was used to that by now, but it hits differently after hope. Hope makes silence louder. A week later, I was at the grocery store, standing in front of a shelf of overpriced frozen meals, when I heard someone say my name. It was Paige. I barely remembered her at first. She'd been at Callie's Christmas party months ago, friendly, funny, sharp in a way that made everyone lean in when she spoke. We talked briefly, but I was too distracted by the storm I was pretending wasn't forming around me. She said she'd heard what happened, that she didn't want to pry, just thought I might need a decent cup of coffee. I hesitated, but she wasn't pushy. Just handed me a sticky note with the time and place, said if I showed, she'd be there. If not, no hard feelings. I showed up, not because I was looking for anything, mostly because I wanted to sit across from someone who didn't look at me like I was an unfinished rehab project. Paige didn't ask for the full story. She just listened when I offered pieces. And somehow, that turned into a second coffee. Then lunch. Then late-night takeout and movie marathons that turned into slow mornings and toothbrushes left behind. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. A year later, we moved in together. And now somehow, impossibly, she's pregnant. We weren't exactly trying. We weren't exactly avoiding it either. But when she told me, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, steady. We cried. Then we laughed. Then we ordered pancakes at midnight and sat on the floor of the kitchen, stunned by how full life suddenly felt. For a few months, it was quiet again, but the kind you welcome. The kind that holds you. Until the box arrived. No name. No return address. Just an old package on the doorstep with baby clothes I vaguely remembered from childhood. A note. A letter. From my mother. She knew about the baby. Said she wanted to meet them. Be involved. No matter what's happened. I threw the letter away. But I kept the baby stuff. It was mine. It had always been mine. I thought that would be the end of it. But then came the knock. Paige answered. And standing in the doorway, wild hair, tear-rimmed eyes, suitcase in hand, was my sister. It was Tara. I hadn't seen her in nearly 3 years, And yet there she was, standing in the doorway like we'd just missed a couple holidays. She looked older. Not in a bad way. Just worn. Paige didn't recognize her, of course. But there's something about tears that gets you a free pass through most locked doors. She came in quietly. Sat at the edge of the couch like it might collapse under her. Said she didn't know where else to go. Said she'd been rehearsing this conversation for months. I stayed standing. She told me Joel and Lauren got married the year before. Small courthouse ceremony. Only a few family members went. She and my dad weren't among them. Things hadn't been smooth since the Christmas ambush. My mom and dad split quietly. Not a big blow-up, just years of silence finally catching up to them. Joel moved back in with our mom. Lauren couldn't have kids. That last part she mentioned like it meant something. Like, it changed the math. Tara was engaged now. Said she didn't want Joel at the wedding. Or our mom. Just Dad. And me. Said she missed me. Said Dad did too. That he'd changed. That he wanted to come down to talk. No pressure. Just talk. I didn't answer right away. Paige stood behind me, one hand resting gently on the small of her belly. She didn't say a word. But she didn't have to. She knew this wasn't about forgiveness. It was about control. About who got to decide when the past stopped mattering. Tara stayed for less than 20 minutes. Left a small box behind, an old photo album we'd made as kids. Torn pages. Glitter glue. A single caption in my 4th grade handwriting that said, "Family is everything." That night, I sat on the floor with Paige and flipped through it. And I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel anything, really. Just this dull ache that sat quietly behind my ribs. I'd spent so long building distance that I hadn't left room to figure out what came next. Paige said she'd support whatever I decided. She'd already blocked every number I asked her to. Deleted every message without reading them. She knew how much it cost me just to exist around that name. But the thing is, I'm not sure if I want my child to grow up not knowing where I came from. I'm also not sure if I want them anywhere near the people who tried to pretend betrayal was a misunderstanding. Tara says things are different now, but I've heard that before. So here I am, holding two truths. That people change, and that sometimes they don't. I've got a new life now, a new name, a new family. But part of me still wonders if walking back through that door, just once, might finally let me close it for good.